Welcome to our Live Well, Stay Healthy Wellness webinar series. My name is Rachel Tansey. I am part of the Family and Community Health Sciences Department here in Monmouth County. I will be the presenter today. I am very excited to be presenting the Supporting a Strong Immune System program for you today. Our department, as well as the others, provide outreach in New Jersey and beyond on topics related to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. We hope you'll visit our website for nutrition wellness related topics and follow us on social media. Okay, so we're just going to get into the presentation. This is just a little outline on what we'll be discussing today. We'll go a little bit into the leading causes of death overall, talk some on nutrition and immunity, talk a little bit about the microbiome, go over what really is good nutrition, trying to putting it all together, and then I have a list of some resources for you as well. And then, as I said, at the end, we'll go through any questions you might have at that point. So just some data. I had found this nice chart, kind of laid it out for you, that this presentation was originally put together by Dr. Sarah Al-Nakib, and we sort of did a little bit of updating, and I wanted to get sort of some of the most recent data that I could find, and I found this chart for 2020, and she had some great information listed also. But for 2020, the information that I found was that the leading cause for death in New Jersey, just for New Jersey, was still heart disease. That seems to be the top leading cause of death. However, COVID came in right there underneath, not too far behind, and then still cancer, some unintentional injuries, of course, as well as stroke and other illnesses, as you can see the chart going down. But what I'm trying to show you here is that there's, of course, obviously prevalence of death according to, of course, some age adjustments and things like that. But we're going to get into a little bit here some of the comorbidities and maybe what might be something called metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, if you're not really familiar, is basically a group of conditions that basically together raise your risk for other things such as coronary heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and other serious heart problems. So if you have things listed, as you can see in this chart, something like high triglycerides coupled with a low HDL cholesterol level. So oftentimes we'll go to the doctor and the doctor will say to us, oh, your cholesterol is, I don't know, 190 and it doesn't look so terrible. You're great. You want to then say, well, what are my two numbers? And your two numbers are HDL and LDL. I like to say your HDL is your happy cholesterol and your LDL is your loser cholesterol. You want your HDL cholesterol to be high and you want your LDL cholesterol to be low. So your HDL cholesterol, if it is low, that's not so great. And you want your LDL cholesterol to be low. So if it's high, that's not good. So if you have things like listed here in this chart, high triglycerides, you have low HDL, you might have high blood pressure, a larger waistline, so maybe you're carrying a little extra weight, and you have a high fasting blood sugar. So if you are someone who is already diabetic, then you would know what that means. If you are someone who isn't diabetic or possibly pre-diabetic, then you would kind of know what that means. It's basically the way our body processes the sugars in which we eat. So not just necessarily added sugars. All foods have sugar in it, and it's the way our body deals with the sugars and the blood sugars that we're eating and how our body processes it. So if it's a high fasting, meaning we haven't been eating, that would be a potential problem. So if we're having multiple instances in this case, that could be a problem that could lead us to potentially risk for coronary heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and other serious health problems. So with that said, we're going to go into a little bit here to give you some background that 70 million United States adults are considered obese. Okay, so some of the issues that we run into is one of the leading causes for some of those other chronic diseases, like over 60 other chronic diseases, could be kind of tied back to obesity. So over 70 million adults in the US are considered obese. With that said, according to the CDC, 42%, over 42% in the US are considered overweight. So that's 99 million adults are considered overweight. So obesity and overweight adults is really an issue. So I say that to then say this, that because of the obesity and being overweight can lead to many of those other chronic diseases that when we looked at that chart of some of those leading causes of death. Now, some people can be not overweight and not obese and can still die from some of those other issues. However, having an underlying condition like obesity and being overweight can start there, causing some of those other things. So being obese, being overweight can put you already at risk for heart disease, can put you already at risk for cancer, can put you already at risk for diabetes, could put you already at risk for sleep apnea, can put you already at risk for depression. There are so many chronic diseases that just by being overweight and obese puts you at, like I said, over 60 chronic diseases just because of obesity and overweight, potentially at risk for so many other things. So we say that because with some of these numbers, it shows that there's some things we can do and some things we can't do. Sometimes things are hereditary and we can't stop certain things in our family line. And the numbers here, as you see in New Jersey, can, potentially be, shocking. But we want to discuss what we can do for our own selves and our immunity and help our, ways to stay stronger. So why does the obesity matter and our immunity? Well, obesity is linked to having a larger amount of fat cells. That makes sense, right? Fat cells or adipose tissue is linked to inflammation, increasing inflammation. Inflammation in our bodies is not necessarily a good thing. Typically, at this point, people know that. We talk about inflammation. We always want to reduce inflammation. By having too much inflammation in our bodies, it suppresses your immune system, which is your body's response to fight off any illnesses and things like that. So if your body can't have that great response for your immune system, then therefore those that are obese or overweight are at higher risk for those infections, and your white blood cells can't be there and aren't at the great production rate that they need to be to fight off all of those infections. So if you kind of think about it, these past few years, it has really come to light where, if anyone was going to be at high risk for any, illnesses, or if you're just going to get even a flu shot or something like that, they will say there's a certain crew of people that are at higher risk, and therefore they might be, the first in line to go get, flu shot or something like that, or any of the immunizations. And one of the risk factors would be overweight or obesity. And that is why, because their immune response rate is lower because their body is not at a good functioning response. Typically, not always, but typically they're at higher risk for infection because their white blood cells are not as peaked as they should be to fight off the infections that we have out there. So, you could say, oh, well, I'm healthy, I'm fit as a fiddle, and that's great. But if you are in the category of overweight and obesity, maybe you're not as fit as a fiddle as you think. And therefore you're in that category, and, you would be, at a higher risk for infection and not being able to fight off some of the illnesses that are out there. So we're going to discuss what we can do about that. So our immune system, it's pretty complex, and it's not, maybe as easy as we think, oh, just have some vitamins and you'll be fine. It's a really complex network of cells and tissues and organs that really have to work together to defend our body and fight off different foreign bodies like viruses and bacteria and other microbes. So without really getting into a lot of the complexity of that, I'm going to discuss what we can do to help strengthen that immune system. So nutrition is really critical here. Nutrition has a lot of complexities within itself, and we'll go over some of it. And I'm going to really try to discuss with you really and explain it in a way that you can really understand and break it down so that we understand it on a normal level and not really get into all the chemistry of it, but just so that everybody knows that we should be eating what we should be eating and how it all works. So macronutrients are the nutrients of our food, of our larger complexities of foods, with the nutrients that we break down, such as like proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Micronutrients are the smaller things like vitamins and minerals that our bodies can't make, and we need to get them from food. So we need all of these things to be in our foods in order to have them in our bodies to use to help us stay healthy. Okay. So we also need to get things like antioxidants and phytochemicals. So antioxidants are the substances that protect our body from damage of free radicals. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. We're going to discuss all of these things. And then phytochemicals, even though it's spelled with a PH, I like to say fight, like FIGHT, are those natural chemicals in fruits and vegetables that protect against diseases. And these can often be found in fruits and vegetables and colorful things like that. Lots of different colorful plants and fruits and vegetables. Then we also have probiotics, and then a lot of people now hear the buzz term prebiotics, and we will get into those as well. And that really is important for our gut health and our immune system there. So it really helps serve our gut and how we keep that healthy. And we will talk about that in a minute. So I just wanted to give you a little overview here and kind of we'll get into the nitty gritty here. So our macronutrients, these again are the larger kind of nutrients that were needed. Carbohydrates, these have always gotten a bad rap. Everybody thinks, oh, carbs are bad for you. Carbs are not bad for you if eaten in the right way and you're eating the proper carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are that main energy source. You need energy in order to function. You need the right carbohydrates. So you need things like whole grains. You need your fruits and vegetables. You need all of those proper carbohydrates to function throughout your day. And your immune system needs these things to stay healthy and keep you functioning, keeping you focused, keeping your body running, keeping everything moving smoothly, keeping your respiratory system, keeping your circulatory system, keeping everything, your digestive tract going. Those are your macronutrients. So that is what you need. Then you have proteins, also a macronutrient. Our bodies need protein. A lot of people understand, your protein is important for your muscles and your, systems and those enzymes and antibodies required. So these also help destroy a lot of germs and viruses and bacteria as well. So we understand a lot more about protein. I think people get a little bit confused about the carbohydrates because they've gotten this sort of misunderstanding about which carbohydrates are good and bad. You really want your carbohydrates to be the ones that are the healthier, unprocessed carbohydrates. So again, we'll get into that a little bit, but you want less processed foods in your diet, the better. So meaning some processing is okay. So meaning if something is peeled or shelled, or it has to be processed in a plant to make it edible. So let's just say an animal of some sort, it needs to be processed to make it edible. You don't just take an animal and eat it the way it is. It gets processed to some degree, but meaning also not processed where we're having, its shelf life on a shelf can last for years. Well, that's probably not so healthy. If it doesn't sort of degrade and, it can sit on your shelf for years and it doesn't ever turn bad, and well, then think about that. It probably has a lot of preservatives and it doesn't have much nutrition in it. So we're talking about foods that come from nature. So we'll get into that as well. So the proteins and your carbohydrates are really those macronutrients that are great for you as well. Fat is not our enemy. Fat is good for us in certain degrees as well. We're talking about our unsaturated fats. Saturated fats are those not so great for us. Our unsaturated fats are important, and there are certain vitamins that are needed, like A, D, E, and K, that actually need to be absorbed through fat, and we need them in our body in order for our body to absorb those vitamins. So we need some fats in our bodies in order to get them. So things like nuts and avocado and those healthy fats in our body and are part of our nutritious diet are important for us to have. So again, making sure we're having a good, healthy overall diet is important to make sure that we are getting a good variety going through the day and weeks and months to getting, what we need. So now our micronutrients, these are those vitamins and minerals that are, like I said earlier, we can't produce them, so we need to get them every day to function and keeping up with what we need. So there's vitamins. There's 13 essential vitamins, 4 of which, as I mentioned, are fat soluble, 9 are water soluble. So you need to make sure you're getting enough water to absorb those. If you have too much, you will, excrete them in your urine, and that's okay. And that's just how our body functions. And then we also have minerals. There's 16 minerals that our food usually gets, our food kind of absorbs through the soil as it grows and things like that. And then our body uses some of these minerals, and I'll go over a couple of them with you in a bit. And it's used for immune function as well. So these are some of the minerals, like, you've heard of calcium. We've all heard of calcium, right? That's a mineral that we need to help our bones and teeth and even our, muscles and things like that work properly and stay strong. We need potassium. If you've ever been low on potassium, sometimes, you get muscle cramps. So, these are things that, you need to have potassium, sodium, balance, that you need these things. And that's why we have to make sure that our vitamins and minerals are within our diet so that we're getting the proper balance and our bodies are staying, balanced as well. And everything is running again smoothly and everything is working out properly. I can't also stress enough how important it is to stay hydrated. Hydration is key to making sure everything is also running smoothly. So it's important to make sure that as you're eating properly, you're also staying hydrated. And hydration is as important as drinking enough, but also in your foods as well. You can stay hydrated also. Okay. So I said we would get into this a little bit. So antioxidants, your free radicals, they're naturally formed. Okay. It happens. We all have free radicals forming just from breathing and exercising. There's also things we can't control, like the environment around us. If you have some lifestyle habits like smoking or even just cell phone use and things like that, we have free radicals forming around us. So what antioxidants do, by having antioxidants in our diet, by having fruits and vegetables and all those colorful, wonderful fruits and vegetable plants in our diets, they help neutralize those free radicals, because free radicals can potentially make our bodies more susceptible to things like cancers. And they can potentially cause, a lot of the damage that comes from, those bad things and cancer causing agents. So we want the antioxidants to just, kind of do all the great things that they do and neutralize them and say, no, we want to make sure we can do like I said, there are some things hereditarily we can't control, but what we can do is try to do everything we can to try to prevent what we can, maybe possibly stop from happening. So if we can eat more fruits and vegetables and more colorful diets, well, then why not do that and try to prevent what we can? So by having more fruits and vegetables in our diet and having more potential antioxidants to stop the free radicals from causing cancers, then let's do that. We also have those phytochemicals, like I said, FIGHT, even though it's spelled with PH. They help fight off some of those cancer causing inflammation type of issues that also help neutralize some of those chemicals and carcinogens and cell damaging DNA issues. And they also are wonderfully, found in all of those beautiful, wonderful colors of our rainbow of fruits and vegetables. And they have such a great impact on our bodies that it is important to make sure that we are having a variety of color and a variety of different foods within each color of the rainbow. So having a lot of fruits and vegetables in our diet to help our bodies have the most benefit from preventing illnesses as much as cancers, as well as other illnesses, not just cancers, but it helps improve our immune response to all harmful carcinogens and control. Basically, it's like damage control. We want to make sure that we're having fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, which are plants. And we want to have as many of those within our diets, as we can throughout each week, throughout each day, throughout each month, because those are the things that are going to help keep us healthy and maintain our health throughout. So by keeping, like I said, not only just like don't have one consistent red fruit or vegetable that you love and you have that one all the time. You have to have a variety from within, because you have reds, you have purples, you have blues, you have greens, you have yellows. They all have different types that fight off different things. So you need to have the variety to help kind of, combat different items that are going on, like I said, without getting into the full chemistry of it all. But you need to make sure you're having the variety so that you really are doing the best for yourself. So then we have our microbiome and our immunity. Our gastrointestinal system makes up about 75% of our immune system. So when you hear people say, oh, your gut is where it's at, really your microbiome is your gut, is your intestinal tract. There's beneficial bacteria that live within there. And the microbiome plays an essential role in that immunity and the response that we have within there. So we don't, if you are having, let's just say, a bad day and your gastrointestinal tract is just not feeling good, you're just not doing things that aren't great, you need to make sure you're helping yourself by replacing all of those wonderful microbiome healthy, beneficial bacteria that live there, because that's where the immune response is. And we need to make sure that we are getting all the important vitamins, minerals, and all of the great probiotics and prebiotics that need to be there in order for that immune response to survive and have everything working properly. Because once your gut is not feeling great, you're not going to feel great. So let me get into that a little bit. So we've all heard of antibiotics, correct? Against. So we're going to take an antibiotic when we're sick, essentially, to kill antibiotics. So we're going to kill those live bacteria that are living in there. And what it does is kills all bacteria. So we don't necessarily know which ones it's killing. So we have to make sure we have some probiotics. So those are those great biotics. Those are the yay. We're pro. We're good biotics. So those are the ones that naturally live there, and we're hoping they're there most of the time anyway. So you can also take a probiotic or get them in your food. They naturally occur in things like yogurt, most fermented foods, kefir, yogurt, cheeses, kimchi. If you think about it, there tend to be sometimes like that soury sort of taste to them. Sauerkraut, tempeh, all those things that have that sort of aged sour sort of taste to them, those are the probiotics, and those are healthy for you, and those are what are great for your gut and help you thrive and help improve your immune system. So with that, they are live bacteria. They need something to continue living and be healthy, right? So we have prebiotics. So think about it. It's like feeding your probiotics. So that's the food and for that microbiome, the good bacteria in our gut, that's the prebiotic. That's the foods that are great for your probiotics. So these are high fiber foods that we typically just like normally can't digest. The prebiotics are made up of like soluble fibers that are found in those high fiber foods like oatmeal, flax, legumes, barley, wheat, berries, onions, and leafy greens. These are great to eat, to have in your system, in your gut, so that those probiotics have a wonderful little feeding frenzy and can live happy. And then your body, will do its thing and stay healthy and happy. And then everybody kind of, says, all right, we're going to make sure that you're staying healthy, because we know if you think, you're okay, I'm eating oatmeal, we know it's healthy for us. I'm eating berries, we know it's healthy for us. I'm eating some leafy greens, we know it's healthy for us. So if we know it's healthy for us as, overall humans, well, it's also healthy for our probiotics that we want to make sure our gut is healthy also. So that's what we're doing. We're making sure everybody inside of our body is healthy also. So we're making sure that that's also helping increase our immune response to any other bacteria or viruses that are trying to enter our bodies as well, and we can easily fight them off. So what is good nutrition? What does that even mean? So by now you've really heard me say, or not say, there's no one food that really is, oh, that's the ultimate holy grail of all great foods. No, it's about having a variety. It's about having everything of all variety in colors, in moderation, in making sure that we're getting all the foods that we need in all the areas that we need them. And there's a reason for that, because they all have different vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we need. So our bodies function the way they need to work properly. It isn't just one food or one thing that is that item that we can just live off of always. So good nutrition is really made up of a well-balanced diet and lifestyle. Sitting around just static all the time too isn't good either. So we need to make sure that not only are we eating healthfully, we also move. We also keep our bodies, and our systems moving as well, because you can eat healthy as well and then just never do anything, and your body might be somewhat healthy, but your body is made to move. You are not made to just sit and do nothing. So even if you have to sit in a chair, you can do movement, you can do, leg movement, you can do arm movement, you can do something. But it is important to make sure that we are moving. And we also need to make sure that we are eating healthfully and making the right decisions when we are doing it. Because there's a lot of foods out there that are not healthy. And the choice is really yours. I mean, you have to literally think about, is this item in my hand going to do me good, or is it not? What choice am I making? Is there nutrition in this item that is going to be helpful and do me good in my health, or is it not? What choice am I making? So here's just another good sort of list for you to think about. I mentioned some of this earlier. Eating more plant-based foods, focusing on those fruits, those vegetables, those beans, those legumes. These are plant-based foods that really have those components that help improve your immunity. And then, as I said, eating foods that come from nature. These are less processed. Not all processed foods are terrible, but you have to think about when I said less processed. So it's okay to have some foods that are processed, because when the term processed, some processing is okay, but we don't want to have, like I said, some foods that are processed can remove some of their beneficial nutrients. But some processing, just because it's processed doesn't mean it's the term that you have to think about. If it's a process to make it edible, well, then that's okay. If it's processed because it's removing nutrients and it's being, making it completely into some other form and it's not really healthy, read your labels, know what you're eating, understand what's happening to the food. Well, then you have to make yourself aware and make that decision that eating something that, comes from nature, that it pretty much looks like the form in which it should be, Those have the beneficial nutrition aspects that you need to have. Eating the rainbow every day. This is not a bag of Skittles. Eating a rainbow of fruits and vegetables, getting those antioxidants, getting those phytochemicals helps improve your immunity. Knowing what's available, eating things even in season, thinking about that. We are the Garden State here in New Jersey, and, having the wonderful variety that we have growing within, the spring, the summer, the winter, the fall. We have lots of good, colorful fruits and vegetables. I mean, we have food stores that provide things that, you could definitely get other times of year as well, and getting a good variety of color within our diet. Frozen foods are also good for you. Things that are frozen, they're actually frozen at peak season. If you've ever noticed a bag of peas, peas actually have a very short life of like being able to be picked and then eaten. So they harvest season. So they are frozen right at peak season. Actually, all things are frozen right at peak season. So if you wanted something that it's just I can't get it right now, it's not fresh, get it frozen. So those are frozen right at peak season, and they will have at that point, if it's not fresh, you will get it the freshest flavor that you could get at that point. So frozen is also a great way to go. And if you're going canned, or something of the sort, like jarred or something, look for something that's low sodium or packed in water or something like that. Don't get high fructose corn syrup or something that is like sitting in a salty type of brine, because those are not going to be as heart healthy or good for you in that sense. So you want to make sure that you are looking at those labels and making sure that you're getting something that's healthy for you as well. And look for your quality over quantity. So if you're focusing on something that tastes more delicious, so like I was just saying about the frozen, being sure that you're savoring the flavors instead of just eating a lot more of it and less about the flavor. So if you really love something and you really I just really want this item, and it just costs a little bit more, or it's not always in peak season and you just only get it one time a year or something like that, then focus on that quality and enjoy it in the moment versus, oh, I got to have so many of it. And it's like, all right, but I'll just have more and more of it. So think about that, the quality over the quantity, because then you will really enjoy it more and you'll savor it for those times. And, or when it is in season and it's a little bit cheaper, or you can get more of it, you can freeze it yourself and then you'll have it for longer throughout the season also. So some vitamins and antioxidants to consider when you're focusing on the immunity. Things like vitamin A. Vitamin A helps regulate our immune system and protect against infections, and keeping our skin and our tissues in our mouth and stomach and intestines and respiratory system healthy. This vitamin can be found in many items, but also particularly sweet potatoes, carrots, kale, spinach, and eggs. Then we have beta carotene, helps increase the number of infection fighting cells, as well as being a powerful antioxidant overall by stimulating your immune cells called macrophages. And our body changes the beta carotene into vitamin A. So sources of beta carotene would also be carrots and sweet potatoes also, and then even things like winter squashes. So vitamin C, we all know vitamin C as being a great vitamin when you're sick, maybe have a cold or something like that, especially this time of year. But it actually stimulates your body's formation of antibodies to fight off things. And other than oranges, everybody always says, oh, orange juice, orange juice. Well, did you know that it can be found in other citrus fruits like grapefruits and tangerines? But it also can be found in strawberries. Strawberries actually have more vitamin C than oranges, and like tomatoes and even broccoli. So you can find vitamin C in lots of other, areas as well, and you can incorporate it in different parts of your meals. Vitamin E. Vitamin E is considered an antioxidant because it helps neutralize free radicals and improves our immune response. It can also be found in nuts, things like hazelnuts, peanuts, and almonds, as well as their nut butters. And it is even fortified in things like cereals as well. And in other foods, it can be added there also. So minerals and antioxidants to consider to improve your immunity also. We talked a little bit about these I mentioned earlier, so now we'll go into some of the details of them. Zinc. I'm sure even during the cold seasons, we've heard some of those things out there about how zinc can help improve our immune system and even helps our wounds heal also. And it can be found in some of our lean meats and poultry, seafood, as well as legumes, beans, seeds, and nuts. Lycopene is an antioxidant that can prevent cell damage and helps repair cell damage also. It's found in many other foods out there like tomatoes and watermelon and apricot, giving them their pink or red color of the flesh. Things like blood oranges and even grapefruits also. Selenium is a mineral that increases your kind of natural killer cell and supports those cancer fighting cells also, and can be found in seafoods like tuna and shrimp and red snapper and even lobster, and also can be found in Brazil nuts and egg yolks. So this question always comes up, so it's a great way to sort of address it. Supplements. Everybody always says, well, why, I'll just take a supplement. Just take a supplement. I like to tell everybody too that our bodies are like old. Our body systems haven't changed since way back in the day. So our bodies kind of don't know what to do really with a pill. Let's just put it that way. So supplements, when you take any supplements, it's called bioavailability. So these components are what matters. So your body, when it takes, let's just say, when it takes vitamin C, it might not be as compatible with your body and might end up being excreted without being absorbed as it would naturally in a food. So your body doesn't necessarily know what to necessarily do with a pill, with what comes in a pill form versus what it would do with a strawberry. It knows what to do with the vitamin C that comes in a strawberry. So that's kind of how I always try to explain it to when I'm with certain groups, like especially young kids. It knows what to do with food. It knows how to break down food and what to do with all of those different vitamins and nutrients, and it knows where to put them in the little pockets and the little areas that we need it in our body. But a pill is not food. So it sort of says, okay, I think I know where to do and where to put this, but if I don't know, I'm going to excrete it, because that's where I know where to put stuff I don't know what to do with. The other things we have to consider with supplements is that they're not regulated in the United States. There is no rules that say they have to have certain regulations that every supplement has to have exactly this same dose, this same regulation across the board. So that can be a problem, that you don't know exactly every one that you're getting has the same component within each one. The other thing is, if you're on any medications or any other types of, supplements, number one, or any other pills, that might be any type of, interactions going on there. And you would really need to make sure you're discussing it with your doctor and pharmacist to make sure there's no, problems that could be caused. Okay, so these are some resources that we have. We, of course, have our Wellness Wednesdays every Wednesday on different topics. There is a website you can go to see what's coming up in the upcoming months, but there's also previous ones that have been recorded that if something were of interest to you, you can go back and watch the recording. We have our Visions newsletter that you can always look at previous newsletters and get on the list to see those. And then we also have our texting program that I actually manage, and you can even email me and ask to get on that, and I can get you that resource. And we send out little texting nudges twice a week, just some helpful hints on, what might be going on, or just a little, new sort of wellness tip, something like that. And you can see how to sign up for that also. So this is just my information, and Joanne, she couldn't be with us today, but that's also her information. If you did have any questions,